Mm.
I think we'll just start with prayer, and then I will give the word to Father Stephen afterwards. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord be with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. Holy Mother, Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, Father Stephen, I give the word to you, so you present this in the way you think is good.
Thank you very much. Look, let me fiddle. I'll get my screens set up so I can read my notes and see you all a little bit, which is always helpful. Forgive me. Good. You can hear me okay, Father Advar? Good. It's really lovely to be with you this evening. And I didn't realise that we'd have one or two people from Sweden as well, so that's an extra joy. And you'll see, especially when I've finished, to hand over to my colleague Susan Longhurst, who's part of the Sycamore team working here in the UK. And what we're doing this evening is Susan and I giving an introduction. I'm doing a bit of history and an overview of Sycamore, and then Susan will speak a bit more from her experience about supporting parishes and communities and how you can actually use Sycamore. And then we'll have plenty of time, we hope, for questions that you might have and give you a little taste of Sycamore with some screen share. Just to say at the beginning, we are really excited about collaborating with you all in Norway and in Sweden. And this is a very big part of our work at the moment, because you're a wonderful church and we're happy to be working with you, but just the multiplicity of languages is such a surprise for us. I mean, I knew this, but we didn't expect that Norway would lead us to a Polish Sycamore and a Lithuanian Sycamore and a Vietnamese Sycamore. So there are so many fruits that are unexpected for us. And I just want to say in a personal way that this does mean a great deal for me personally. I don't know if you know, but I have so many Norwegian connections, and just to share those with you, I was teaching at Allen Hall Seminary for 8 years. And in that period, many of your priests were training in London for the priesthood. And so I was coming to Norway 2 or 3 times a year, to Oslo, to Stavanger, to Bergen, and to visit the students in the parishes. And I got to know Bishop Bernt very well then. So just the Norwegian church, in a beautiful way, has been part of my life because of Allen Hall. Another very personal connection is that I studied in Cambridge with Bishop Eric Varden. So we were there, we didn't overlap for long, but a few months. We were at the chaplaincy together in Cambridge. We've got lots of friends in common. And so I've known Bishop Eric for many years and delighted that he's come home to Norway now. And then some of you may know this already, but I have a new job in this summer. I'm moving to Rome to be the rector of the English College Seminary, which again, this is like coming back to the beginning again. Many, if not most of your Norwegian seminarians now are studying in the English College. So I will be training your priests again from this September, which is just, I mean, it is a very special connection with the church. So it's not just Sycamore. I think there will be a lot of connections between myself personally and the church in Norway. And I'm very happy to have those connections as well. Let me share with you, in case you haven't seen any of Sycamore at all, just the 1 minute trailer. So I'm going to share the screen now, and I hope you can hear the sound as well. Can you see that okay?
Mm.
Good. Okay, here we go. What is love? What is happiness? What is the meaning of my life? The Greek philosopher Aristotle said that we're all searching for happiness, even if we can't agree on where to find it. If I rush up to you with a microphone in my hand and say to you, tell me something about yourself, do you start with your name, your nationality, your job? Do you show them your Facebook feed, your Instagram account? Is this you? Is there more? If there's even a chance that there might be a God, would you look for him on the basis that maybe he is looking for us and reaching out to us? Okay, so just a little taste. That's what we put onto YouTube or something for people who don't know about Sycamore. Let me tell you the Sycamore story briefly. I've been a university chaplain for 8 years in London. And at the end of my first year, I was working with a group of students in evangelization. We were thinking, what can we do to reach out to new students and to connect with them? And just as a group from the students, it wasn't just myself, there was a feeling of wanting to prepare something, to prepare a course, some resources, some materials, so that we could run a program of evangelization for new students and for friends of students who were coming to the chaplaincy. So this was just a quick thought. It was a summer project, and we did some writing and some filming. We put things on the internet because it's so easy to share them now and so cheap to share them. And then for that following year, we used this very quickly made set of films as an evangelization program in the chaplaincy. We found that this was becoming used in other parishes and chaplaincies as well, which was lovely to hear about, but it was still something that was done, as I say, very quickly, and it was a little bit rushed. And so 3 years ago, we got together again and did some thinking and praying and asking the Lord, does he want us to try and do this in a little bit more of a professional way, to put some more time and money into this? And we felt very strongly that this was something worth doing. And we said to the Lord, if you will help us, give us what we need to do this, then we'll very happily do it. And after a lot of prayer and conversations, the Lord blessed us with some funding, and we spent a good 18 months then rewriting, refilming, rebranding, and the Sycamore course that you see now, the films and the website, this is the product of that renewal of the program that we've been doing over the last 2 or 3 years, and that's where we are now. What is Sycamore though? What are the ingredients? Well, here's a list of 1 or 2 of the ingredients. First of all, obviously, it's a set of films, of videos. It's a set of resources, and we hope that they are beautifully produced, that they share the beauty of the faith, that they are as accessible as possible. We wanted to make some films and resources that were in ordinary language. They weren't using Christian or theological or philosophical jargon that would be incomprehensible to ordinary people. So to use ordinary language, some beautifully produced videos, to make them quite short. You see a film of about 20, 25 minutes, but really it's some very short films of about 7 minutes put together into a package of 3. Lots of stories, lots of examples, from people's testimonies from the lives of the saints. So some beautiful films, but also that within this, there would be some clear Catholic teaching, something to learn, so that you came, you enjoyed the films, but you did learn something and you did take something away with you. And that this teaching would be faithful to the church. As we've said, it would be accessible to ordinary people in ordinary language, and it would take the pressure off the catechists and the leaders. So that the leaders, the catechists, you're there to help the group, to bring things together, to organize things, to welcome people, but you don't have to provide all of the teaching for the sessions because it's there within the films for you. Another key part of Sycamore, right from the beginning and still today, is to invite and encourage discussion, real, honest discussion. So you have a short section of the film, might be just 5 or 6 minutes. And then you have the questions, the discussion questions coming up on the screen for you. So the questions are there provided for you. And in fact, there's always a key question, and then there's 3 what we call backup questions. If you run out of discussion, if you need something else to talk about, if you need to fill the time, you've got 2 or 3 extra questions for you. And the point of this is to encourage people to talk and to share, because it's not just about an old-fashioned lecture where you hear the truth from the lecturer and then you have to accept it or reject it or repeat it, or it's about the film and the input opening up the beauty and the truth of the Christian faith, presenting it to you, but then inviting you to think and reflect and share. And what did you find interesting? And how does this touch your life? And yes, what do you not understand? Or what do you disagree with? Or what do you have a different perspective on? So that there's real honesty, because this is how people learn. People learn by sharing, by talking, by asking questions, and sometimes respectfully by disagreeing. And it's not to get everyone to agree at the end of the session. It's to get everyone to have grown and trusted one another and learnt from one another, so that this is the methodology. Over time, people are deepening their faith, and people are going away and thinking more deeply, and people have heard the truth of the Catholic faith, but of course they're free to grow in whatever way they're at, and everyone is in a different place. And so it's to find this sensitive place where you are presenting the Catholic faith in all its beauty and its truth and its richness, but you are respecting people's differences as well. And when you have those 2 things together, I think it's when people can really grow and learn together. And then this is inseparable. It's not just to have discussion for its own sake, but honest discussion and sharing encourages and builds community. Community isn't necessarily that everyone agrees. It's that people have been honest with one another, and they trust one another, and they listen sensitively to one another. And so Sycamore is about not just a film or a learning or a discussion. It's about this evening or this remote group when there's a sense of everyone feeling welcomed and loved, and the leaders being really open and warm and inviting people to share or to not to share if they want to, and asking them how they are, and if you're meeting physically, to make the room very welcoming and to have a meal and to have a drink, and if you're meeting online, then just to create an atmosphere of trust and welcome, so that before the sessions people are feeling welcome, in the discussions people are feeling trusted and safe and welcome, and after the sessions people are able to have some informal chat and just to hang out together. And in real life, if you're meeting to have a coffee or to go to the pub, you can't go to the pub in Norway because alcohol costs $1,000 for every drink. But in England, you can go to the pub and have a drink together. You can sit down and have a donut or a coffee. And that this community experience is growing beyond the Sycamore group, and it's infecting the parish. So you've got a catechetical group or an evangelization group or a youth group, and they're, if you like, learning the methodology of Sycamore. They're wanting to be more open to visitors and strangers, and to welcome people who have questions, and not to be forbidding and distant and cold, and the fact that there's 10 or 15 people in this group, it means that the whole parish is wanting to be more open and welcoming, and gradually, as different groups experience Sycamore and experience the philosophy of Sycamore, this is helping the parish to be more welcoming and open, and to have honest sharing, and to rejoice and celebrate in the faith, and to welcome newcomers. So these are some of the ingredients of Sycamore. I'll just repeat them. Beautiful resources, clear Catholic teaching, discussion and honest sharing, a warm welcome, and a sense of community and friendship, and the whole parish being committed to and investing in this vision of community and welcome and faith. Okay. And then let me just have another couple of minutes, and then I want to show you a section of one of the films. I've given you the ingredients. I just want to be a little bit practical now with you, because maybe what I've just said has been, very deep and thought-provoking, but you might have some really practical questions. What is it? Let me go through the practicalities. Sycamore. Everything is online. Everything is free to use. Everything is easy to access. So you as a leader, a priest, a catechist, you just go to the Sycamore website, or you go to the Norway Church website, and you find everything that you need there. The videos, the discussion questions, translated for you, the resources, and especially, and I'll show you the website at the end, you find in English lots of training materials and advice from other users, so you know how to run a group, how to lead a discussion, how to cook a meal, how to train leaders, how to deal with the difficulties, how to stream, how to run remote groups. Everything's there for you. I spoke about videos. Well, what are the topics and how many are there? There are 20 videos, 20 sessions, so that you have a comprehensive program about the whole of the Catholic faith, from initial curiosity and opening up very simple ideas about happiness and freedom and searching and who is God, and to Jesus and the Holy Spirit, to the Church and the Bible, to faith and prayer, and then in the later videos going much deeper in terms of catechesis and teaching about the 7 sacraments, the moral teaching of the Church, the social teaching of the Church, the Christian vocation, and ultimately the call to live with the saints in heaven. So it's a comprehensive program, but please don't be frightened by that. Yes, as if, oh no, it's 20 sessions. And the idea is that it's a modular program, so that you can choose which of those sessions will come together to make a course. We call them pathways, but which course will be helpful for you? And we have already designed for you 30 different courses, depending on what you need. Do you need the first few sessions as an evangelization course? Do you need some of the sessions about baptism and confirmation for your parents? Do you need all 20 sessions for your RCIA or your evangelization? Do you need some of the sessions about faith and prayer to help you in an Advent group or a Lent group? And I could go on and on, but there are so many different courses which bring together certain films so that you know where you're going over 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks, and you can explore all of this. Everything can be done in person, and that's one model. You have a meal, you have some donuts, you meet together and you just share and you relax, and it's very informal. And then you show the films, and then you have a coffee afterwards, and you need to keep a very clear timetable because it annoys people if you go on for too long. But as long as you're clear, you've done your planning, you meet together. But equally, everything can be done remotely. And we've had great success, and Susan will tell more to you about this, about running online remote groups, of how you can have some good discussion online. And for many people, I'm guessing, especially in Norwegian parishes where you're driving a lot and separated, and especially in a Norwegian winter in the dark, that the idea of meeting virtually is a great blessing for many people today that we didn't really appreciate before COVID. So COVID has been terrible, but it's also given us new opportunities. For you in Norway, we will have very soon, we've nearly got finished, subtitles in English, Norwegian, Polish, Vietnamese, and hopefully Lithuanian. So you can run in a multi-ethnic Norwegian parish, but still have people watching in different subtitles. And that's a great blessing for you, I hope. And just again, to speak from the heart a little bit more, the joy of hearing the testimonies of people in the parishes. To hear a parish priest, for example, speak about how he was struggling to run his catechesis. He didn't know how to do his confirmation group, or how to do his RCIA, or he had some parents who wanted their children baptized, but they were not very interested in coming to church. And to hear this parish priest speak about how Sycamore has enabled him to speak to people with more honesty, and they've enjoyed the films, and they've realized that the church is alive, and they've had some fantastic discussions, and they've become close to each other in friendship. So yes, I think the films are amazing, but much more important is that it allows the friendship and the discussion and the relationships, which is so important for Christianity. And to hear the testimonies of the people who have come as guests and participants. We've been running Sycamore in my university chaplaincy for 7 years now. And just at the end of every course, we always have feedback. And it's so lovely to hear the young people speak about how much they've enjoyed coming to Sycamore. One of our students said, and I've quoted this many times, he said, "I finally found an opportunity to think about life." He'd been racing through life, but never an opportunity just to stop and think honestly with friends and with people he didn't know, but just to have some honest sharing. And that's why the input and the questions and the friendship are so important. And in case you didn't know why we call it Sycamore, you know the story in St. Luke's Gospel about Zacchaeus. Yes, Zacchaeus was very small. So when Jesus came by, he couldn't see him. He wasn't tall enough. So he climbed up a sycamore tree. The sycamore tree helped him to get a better view. But when he finally speaks to Jesus, he comes off the tree and he invites Jesus into his home, and they get to know one another. The tree is not important. It's a tool. It helps you to meet Jesus and to meet one another. And that's what we hope for Sycamore. Sycamore is not a movement. It's not something you join. It's to help you in your parishes and schools and chaplaincies to do what you already want to do. And in fact, Sycamore, we hope, is just helping you to be the church. What is the church? It's the faith, it's the community, it's the sharing, it's the prayer, it's the talking. And yes, it's the sacraments and the worship. Sycamore, it's nothing more than that. It's just helping you to be the church, giving you the tools you need, giving you the confidence you need. But hopefully, it's your job to be the church in Norway and in your parishes and schools. And if Sycamore can help you do that, that's a wonderful thing. All right, I'm going to show you just 5 minutes of the first film, just to give you a taste of Sycamore. You'll notice, especially because it's the first film, it's one of the evangelization videos, yes? It's not deep catechesis. I don't think I even mentioned Jesus, but it's an example of how Sycamore is trying to be very welcoming and to give a space for people to listen and share and enjoy being together and getting to know me and Sycamore and then building on this in the later films to go deeper. But you need to win people's trust at the beginning. And also our experiences, you need to be very gentle at the beginning. So there's deep truth, but hopefully there's also a simplicity and a gentleness about the films. And this is just to give you a taste, as I say, of the first 5 minutes of the first film. Okay, just check I can share my screen again. Great.
I grew up in an ordinary street in an ordinary town near the city of St Albans in Hertfordshire. But at the bottom of the hill near where we lived, there was a river that ran down the east side of the town. I'd play there with my brother after school or at the weekends. It was a place of incredible adventure and discovery. We'd dig in the riverbed looking for lost treasure, discarded bottles or a bicycle wheel. We'd hide in the reeds playing cowboys and Indians. Or we'd race along the riverbank, going as far as we could go, wondering where the river would take us, until we remembered that Mum wanted us back for supper that evening. These were just children's games, but I think it says something about the human heart that's true for adults as much as children. On the one hand, we like safety and security, food in the fridge, friends and family, a bed to sleep in, a door to lock at night. We are very domestic creatures. I think the idea of home is built into us almost like an internal compass. I also think this is why Grand Designs and 100 other TV programs about house building are so popular at the moment. On the other hand, we long for adventure, drama, a little bit of romance. We get very easily bored. The writer Jack London said that the deepest purpose of human life is to live and not just to exist. You see this in all the great road movies. The hero leaves home, willingly or unwillingly, for the freedom of the road. You see this in the great westerns. The cowboy gets on his horse, looking for riches or romance, or both, and rides off into the sunset. It's the mythology of the Greek classics like the Odyssey. It's Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. It's Frodo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings. It's the idea of being on a quest. Let me tell you about my very first memory. I was nearly 3, tucked up in bed, and my dad wakes me in the middle of the night. He picks me up, takes me into the living room and sits me on his lap in front of the TV. I distinctly remember the glow of the TV screen and the darkness of the room. And we're sitting there together, watching these grainy black and white images of the very first moon landing. I think Dad wanted me to be part of this great adventure, even if I didn't fully understand what it meant at the time. To see Neil Armstrong stepping down from the lunar module onto the surface of the moon. To see that there's always something beyond the horizon, something more. He was teaching me never to get too settled or too complacent. There is a restlessness in every human heart. It's good to acknowledge it now and then. I'm searching for something. I'm longing for something more. Now, it doesn't mean I need to pack up my bags and walk out the door. Probably not a good idea. But at least I can give myself permission to look into these longings within my heart and ask myself the question, what am I really searching for?
Good. So a little taste, and you can see how a very short section of film, people don't have long attention spans, do they? And then the questions come up, so it's all in front of you. You don't need to print anything. You just turn to each other and say, well, what do you think? And look, I forgot to put the subtitles on. So all I'll do now, just let me show you where it is. Is share my screen again. Great, can you see the website now? Yeah, so I'm not going to go through this. I want to hand over to Susan now, but it's just to encourage you to explore the website as well as the Norwegian website that you've got with some extra Norwegian resources. And the key thing is just to look at the tabs at the top. You can see that all of the films are here under watch. You can click on a film. You can play it through the website if you want to. And this is what I wanted to show you. You can see how at the bottom here are the subtitles in the different languages. So here are the Norwegian subtitles.
It's the idea of...
And equally, the different languages, some of which you'll want to use, but you've got the subtitles embedded in the videos as a download, as an option as well from your Norwegian website. And again, just to encourage you to look at the tabs at the top here, you can see there's lots of sections about planning, lots of sections about training, and all the different courses and pathways that I was speaking about, you can explore here. For example, here are our sacramental pathways, catechesis, RCIA, confirmation, parents, infant baptism, First Holy Communion parents, etc. Okay, I could talk forever. Enough from me. I think I'll hand straight over to Susan, and then we can have a Q&A for both myself and Susan, if we've got a little bit of extra time at the end. Lovely to speak with you, and over to Susan.
Hi everyone, it's really nice to be here with you this evening, and just to be able to talk to you and to share actually some of my experiences since I've been in post as Mission Development Manager. So I started working for Sycamore in November last year, and my role really is to provide support for parishes, for groups, and communities all using Sycamore. So it's been a wonderful last couple of months just working with groups and parishes and just finding out how they've been using Sycamore. So I work in terms of promotion and awareness. I work at diocesan level for promotion. So I work with diocesan teams just to talk about Sycamore, just to explore how we can spread the good news essentially, and to encourage parishes to begin to use Sycamore and to just increase the awareness. But I also, and a lot of my time I'd say is spent liaising with individuals, with leaders and parish groups about their use of Sycamore resources and their experiences. So that has been a great source of joy for me over the last couple of months, is just to be working with leaders, working with groups, and to hear this wonderful feedback. So it's been, as I said, a real joy for me, and a real joy to now be able to share some of their experiences with you. So as I said, my role is to provide support and tailored support really to groups using Sycamore in a variety of different contexts. But it's also to develop networks of communities that are using Sycamore so that we can grow essentially the Sycamore community, as we're doing this evening. And I work nationally in the UK and also internationally with groups such as yourselves, just to sort of look to ways in which we can start to expand our growing awareness of Sycamore. So I thought I'd share with you this evening a few further pieces of information about how Sycamore is being used in a real world context. So just to explain how it's being used, just from my talking to groups and parishes and liaising over the last couple of months, I want to let you know about those resources again that Father Stephen was showing you, just to make you feel confident to be able to pick up the resources, to go to the website, pick up those resources to help so that they can help you just get started essentially, because that's the real aim of our task this evening, is to make you feel excited and inspired and to feel that you can actually get going and running a Sycamore course. But also just to talk to you about the community of Sycamore and the foundation of support that we're here to provide you with as well. So just in terms of exploring how Sycamore is being used, it's being used across a variety of different contexts. So in parishes, as Father Stephen mentioned, for formation and renewal groups, for catechesis. But it's also much wider than that. It's being used by schools, it's being used in prison chaplaincies and also university chaplaincies. And over the last few months, I've had many meetings with university groups who have had great success using Sycamore, and particularly fed back that it has resonated with young people in a really special way. I think in terms of giving them this platform to be able to discuss and talk about those issues about life that Father Stephen was mentioning, it gives them that platform. So just to sort of reassure you that actually Sycamore for young people has this real resonance, and it actually has the content, watching the films, for them is very relatable. Another interesting area that I've been talking to parish groups about is in terms of parent-led catechesis. Groups have particularly found success here in terms of using Sycamore resources to help parents, to enable resources, to enable parents to catechize their children. And in a parent-led catechetical way, it's been extremely successful with groups, working very well. In terms of the last year or so, obviously we've experienced the pandemic and things have changed in terms of the way in which we used to meet face-to-face in running groups in a parish setting. That's changed beyond our recognition. But actually, groups have found that Sycamore works particularly well online, as Father Stephen alluded to. Now, many groups have said to me when we've been talking about the potential of running a group online, well, how do we encounter the icebreaker situation? You know, normally we would share a meal, we would get to know each other in a sort of a close setting. How do we replicate that online? But actually, what people have found is that actually online, the group comes together in a very, maybe a different way, but actually they unite in terms of the discussion. The fact that the video is segmented into 3 with discussion questions throughout has meant that groups have been able to find that discussion base, and they've been able to continue a conversation throughout the film. So there's been those continual prompts, if you like, to help people to relate to the material and relate to each other. So on that note, what we found is that communities and parish groups that have been using Sycamore have found that through the pandemic, it's actually helped keep their communities together. Some clergy have told me that actually what they found is that the people that have attended Sycamore groups online may not necessarily have always been those that they had seen in church. So therefore, we have begun to realise that actually that accessibility that Father Stephen alluded to, the fact that on dark evenings, perhaps those with young children, those that are housebound, for them it's very much easier to connect online, and therefore Sycamore Online and courses run online help to cater for communities in that way. In terms of groups adapting, so using Sycamore resources and really adapting them, we've found great success. I particularly mentioned just a little while ago about groups being concerned about icebreakers. How do we break the ice? How do we get the conversation flowing? And we found that groups have very naturally started to, although Father Stephen was talking about running sessions between 7 and 8, for example, and being very good and timely about finishing on time, they've also built in time beforehand and afterwards for those that want to chat, to catch up. So actually what we've seen are groups adapting to the new situation, if you like, and Sycamore seems to have worked very well in that context. But in terms of the resources and the pathways that Father Stephen mentioned, parishes have really fed back to us that the pathways have given them this sense of flexibility so that they can put modules together. They can sometimes change the videos within those modules if they feel they want to, so that they can come up with a really flexible program that will fit their needs in their parish or their group or their community. So in terms of the resources, it's just to feed back to you that actually groups have been finding that flexibility extremely helpful. We have one particular parish, for example, at the moment, that is running 6 different Sycamore courses in its current context. So therefore, because we have the films that work so well together, actually they fit different themes and different topics. So actually they're able to be combined and used in that way. So that's just one example of a way in which a parish is using several different courses at the same time. But just to reiterate and reinforce Father Stephen's point about the resources being accessible, they really are, and the feedback has sort of reinforced this point, that once groups feel that they're ready to run a Sycamore group, that actually all the resources are there and are very accessible to help them get going. So I really would encourage you, as Father Stephen said, to have a look at the website, to go through the planning pages, because there's help on every element of running a Sycamore course, from planning and assembling a team to the practicalities of running a session, how to run breakout groups, how to run and utilize Zoom or Teams or whichever platform you choose. So there's so much information on there to help guide you really along every step of the way of running a group. But there's also lots of publicity materials that you can use immediately, so download and use. So this would be flyers, posters, postcards, that you can maybe use online, but also just to just flag up with people, just to help you in that promotional phase. So again, just to reassure you that all of that information is there, and it really is there so that you feel empowered to pick up those resources once you feel, I'd like to give this a go, and actually get going. So the whole aim is to get started, essentially. And that's what we would encourage you to do. Just once you feel inspired, get started to run a group. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to start huge in any sense of the word. You can start quite small, but it's just about gathering that team together and getting started. And then just to reiterate the foundation of support that is there for you once you start to explore Sycamore. As I mentioned, my role is to support those using the resources. And again, as just to say that I also work with dioceses, but individuals and groups and leaders. So once you explore the website, you'll see that there's a potential there to register your group, and that's something that we would really encourage you to do, because once you register your group, we know that you're there, you're on our radar, and we can help to better support you in running that group, and just to be aware that you're running Sycamore in that way. So there's a couple of options in terms of getting involved really in the Sycamore community. The first, as I said, is to consider registering a group once you've decided that that's what you'd like to do. But you can also subscribe to our newsletter just to give you regular updates on what's happening with Sycamore, and just to keep you in the loop. We have a Sycamore Leaders Forum on Facebook, which again, I would encourage you to just have a look at. It's a great source of support and peer support as well. So it's comprised of lots of different people all over the world running Sycamore, sharing their experiences and also sharing best practice. So it's a forum which is well used, and it's being used. People are asking questions, they're getting advice from others who have practically run Sycamore courses. So in terms of getting involved in the Sycamore community, I'd encourage you to just have a look on Facebook and find us on there. And lastly, just to say that if you would like to ask any questions at all, if you would like any information, then please use the Contact Us page on the website, and you'll come through to me, and I can be there to support you in whatever you feel you need, even if it's just to ask a question or just to get further information. So on that note, I hope I've provided some context as to how Sycamore is being used, and I'll hand over now back to Father Oddvar.
Slå på mikrofon.
Okay. I tried to turn off the spotlight, but is it still on Susan? Does everyone see Susan very big? That's strange. Well, doesn't that work on remove spotlight?
Hvis du går I høyre hjørne på view og bytt til der.
Okay. Spotlight for everyone. That's me now. Well, I'm not so good on the spotlighting here, I see, but I was very glad to hear Father Stephen and Susan explain to us different ways. As a priest, I noticed that a priest can have a lot of help here. Confirmance is a challenge, and would be quite good to use these films here, and even confirmation, and even parents who come from baptism of a child could be helped this way. I find though that often parents are quite willing to speak and learn from me, but and then RCIA groups, we have quite a number of those in the parishes. It would be very good to maybe use all through the year. We can use Sycamore for these. And then what we are not very good at so far is to have these extra groups in the parishes pop up. That's what we really need to work on. So what I plan to do now, before we have a general discussion, I think, is to give the words first to Maria, who will speak a bit on her experience translating all the episodes or the text, and then to Katrina, who will speak about how in Catholic Church in Norway, we try to make it possible, very easy for people to use these videos. So Maria, please.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, good. Well, my very first impression as a translator came from visiting Sycamore's website after Father Oddvar had told us that this program was something the Nordic Bishops' Conference had recommended. And when I went to the website, I was delighted to see that Sycamore really was founded on rock solid Catholic teaching, but also has a freshness with which it presents the material, the catechesis, the language, the music, the images, the interviews. So my immediate reaction to Father Oddvar was, this looks exciting and consistent, exclamation mark. And then when I read the passages on the website from Father Stephen's booklet on the new evangelization, I thought, now, this is something else. This is really what we need. Soon after, I received the master's subtitles to be translated into Norwegian and started watching the films and working on the text. And I was completely carried away because they deal with faith in a low-key, informal, but nevertheless impressive way. They approach people's sacred ground very carefully and with deep respect, allowing the participants to go through a breathtaking and transforming process of discovery, not to say rediscovery of God. So for me, I saw very quickly that Sycamore offers really a comprehensive catechesis program, not only obeying totally to the definitions of the General Director of Catechesis and the Magisterium of the Church, but it was formulated in words and concepts that can be understood and shared with anybody in 2021, in our times. And it also has the capacity to transform our lives so that we really live with Jesus Christ in our hearts and bring him out to everybody. And I also found that it offers a most convincing witness of faith, made even more convincing by Father Stephen's own fascinating journey of faith from his family origins through the various stages that let him discover who God is and how God speaks to us, until he became an ordained priest. That was fascinating. I loved the language, so simple that everybody can understand it, yet so suggestive, brimming with imagery and striking comparisons, like when the four Gospels are compared to a time machine, or like in film 5, where Jesus is described not like a friend who shares photos of himself via social media and never comes to visit. He is someone who stands in the doorway, steps across the threshold, and wraps us in his embrace. This is part of the meaning of the sacrament. Jesus Christ touching and transforming our lives today. Or when explaining the resurrection, Father Stephen uses the ancient image from the Eastern churches, where Jesus reaches down to the figures of Adam and Eve, takes them by the hand and lifts them out of the tomb. But then Father Stephen adds, like a lifeguard reaching down and lifting someone out of the water. That was a wow moment. This imagery effectively opens up our inner horizons for perceiving God's existence and his active love. And it prompts us to ask questions and begin to reflect, exactly as what the catechesis is supposed to do. So Jesus becomes alive through Sycamore, and he becomes accessible for us here and now. And Father Stephen is not afraid of challenging us to make steps of faith, leading us to trust in Jesus and to start praying. And I was honest to say that many times watching these films, I was moved to tears and filled with new hope. The stories that are told in the films, Bible accounts, anecdotes from the lives of saints, moments from history and from the author's own life, provide effective links between lived life and faith, presented in a gentle way, often with a touch of humor, even when speaking about matters as serious as the final judgment, where Father Stephen says, we should have a healthy FOMO, a healthy fear of missing out of heaven. So I've really enjoyed the humor in it also, the joy. I also like the questions and their potential for sharing faith. They are deep and thought-provoking, examining matters from many different angles, like how would you respond if you knew someone had given up their life for you? And then Father Stephen links this with, this is exactly what Jesus Christ has done for us. And then there are the lighter questions that allow for an open and non-judgmental dialogue with people of all beliefs. That I thought was fine. Here in Norway, we have a very ecumenical approach to all other denominations, so it is very useful for us. The music is another beautiful, striking element, inviting, with these first notes functioning as a summons. Ba, 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 ba. That is like a call to something important and exciting, and then changing into a lively rhythm that suggests setting out on a quest with intermittent quiet parts for reflection or simply joy. And then there is the use of art. We are shown paintings full of symbolism, ancient and modern church rooms, sculptures, architecture, and Father Stephen feeds us with lots of references to well-known films and books. But nothing of this is ever ostentatious or pretentious. It just points humbly to God, showing the love and sacrifice of Jesus Christ, or illustrating Our Lady's sorrow at the cross, or explaining the nature and effects of the sacraments. And finally, I think the interviews with people on the street and with other Christian faithful give an extra credibility to the Sycamore program, because these persons, they express their faith with an honesty and a candor that show how God's light and grace is present in people's lives. Despite our fragility as human beings. So after a few films, these wonderful, extraordinary, ordinary people feel like good old friends who are sharing deep insights and most enriching ideas with us. And we start looking forward to know what they will answer the next time they appear on the screen. So I will certainly miss them, and please give them my warm thanks for their sincere contribution. For me, translating the Sycamore films has been a wonderful and impacting experience, making me more aware of my identity as a baptized Christian and summoning me to pursue a way of life that is true and consistent with this great gift and the mission it implies. Sycamore has made it clear to me that we can always refresh our understanding of who God is and restart our journey towards Him, with Him. The films will stay with me for a long, long time. And I am sure we are many who will feel indebted to the great work of Father Stephen, Susan, and all their collaborators that they have done. And finally, as the translator, I want to apologize to all of you for my misprints and mistakes in the Norwegian subtitles, which I'm discovering far too often as they now are displayed on the screen. But I know that the core message of the films will touch you all and make you experience how close God wants to be to us. Thank you.
The reason we chose the film so quickly is that they are so good. And as Maria said, she is the one who knows more than any of us in Norway the content of the films. It portrays or shows the Catholic teaching so fully and so good, and the culture of England is so close to Norway that we can also relate to all the extra things that that would come across when you present the gospel in your own culture. So I will now give the word to Katrina, who will speak about how we have tried to and started to and will promote these films in Norway. Please, Katrina.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Father Oddvar. And I just have to say, firstly, Maria, thank you for that introduction. I really feel re-energized now. I hope all of you also do that and feel a little bit more excited about Sycamore now. Firstly, I would just like to introduce myself for the ones of you that don't know me from before. But my name is Katrine Lover, and I've been working in the diocese communication department since 2014. And that means that my background is within digital communication. So I am part of the content team that creates all the content for the church official channels, and mostly katolsk.no. But maybe some of you have seen me as well, because I write the article called My Parish, Min menighet, for Sankt Olav Kirkeblad. So that was a little bit about me, but now to Sycamore. So I would just like to show you what I've been working on. So my role, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. This one maybe. Can you now see katolsk.no? Can you see that I have several faner open?
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, everything. Okay, great. Yeah, so my role is a little bit like Susan. I am in charge of the communication aspects of the Sycamore for Norway, and I've also been working quite a lot with the technical aspects of this. So we've been so kindly allowed to upload the videos to katolsk.no, which means that you all have access to all of the materials in katolsk.no. So you can view the episodes directly from katolsk.no. And this is the page that we have created. And first here you see the trailer that Father Stephen showed us. And you can also read a little bit more in Norwegian about the Sycamore concept. It will also take you to the Norwegian pages within Sycamore's official webpage, which Father Stephen showed you, I think, which also explains a little bit more in depth. And here you have all of the videos one by one, or the episodes. So basically you just scroll down and you find all 20 of them here. So it's a long list. But I also wanted to give you a heads up that we use mostly YouTube. Maybe many of you are already quite familiar with YouTube from before. But I know Father Stephen showed you how the subtitles work. And in YouTube it's actually a bit different from what you use in the Sycamore official webpage. So in YouTube, you need to make sure that the subtitle option is turned on. And when you view all the videos in katolsk.no, it will automatically be turned on for you. So you don't really need to do anything. And it is by default in Norwegian, but as we said many times, the videos exist in subtitles with different languages. Here we have for this first episode 7 different languages that you can choose from. But you have to do it by pressing this tannhjul. It's the setting button. Maybe some of you know how this works already. And also one of my roles is to create awareness and educate people about Sycamore here in Norway. So one thing that we do then is that I have written an article about Sycamore, and I also made an interview with Father Oddvar. So he explains a little bit more in depth who Sycamore is for example, how it can be used, a little bit more about the thoughts behind why Catechetic Center, Father Oddvar, and the rest of the team thought that this concept would fit here in Norway. And so yeah, you can read a little bit more in depth here as well. And I really liked what you said, Father Oddvar, that Sycamore is for basically anybody. Maybe you can say it yourself how you said it, but I really liked how you portrayed it. But you said that even though people that knows the faith pretty well, or at least feel that they do, always should or can learn more about the faith, and also will have yeah, maybe you want to present it yourself, Father Advar.
Well, I also compared what Father Stephen does in the films with homilies we hear often at Mass. And I said, probably there will be no homilies that are as good or better than this presentation. So, you know.
Yes, you did. Yes, so I'm also going to upload an interview that I did with the protagonist himself, Father Stephen. So that will be available within this week. And I would just like to ask all of you, are you the ones in charge of your parish on communication platforms? Meaning, for example, your parish Facebook site, your blog, your web page. Can you maybe give like a hand up or something if you are? I know, Stephen, you are, yeah, Father Dominic, at least. Okay, yeah. Okay, perfect. Because I would just like to say that I would encourage you to help us spread the word about Sycamore. And you can do that by letting the people that are in charge, or yourself, if you are, share the content, share the information on your own platforms. And you can do so either by actually sharing the link to katolsk.no on your other platforms. You can, I would invite you to actually copy paste what I've written here, or even what I've written in my interview with Father Odvar, maybe the first bit, and then link to katolsk.no. That would be nice if you would be willing to do that, and encourage other people to share as well. And also, when my interview with Father Stephen has been uploaded, please share that as well. And you can also share. So moving forward, every day I will upload one of these shorter videos of Sycamore to katolsk.no's, or the church official Facebook page, to also further create more awareness and give people a little bit like a sneak peek of the content. So maybe more people would be a little bit interested and want to know a little bit more. And you can easily just share the post that I've already created. So you don't really have to do anything yourself. You just go into Facebook and you click the share button. That would be really great. What else? Yeah, I can also just show you our YouTube channel now that has all the episodes, and you can either view them here in YouTube or directly on, yes, katolsk.no. And yeah, I think actually that was it. If anyone has any questions, and I would also just say that I'm here to help you with anything you need when it comes to sharing the content, or technical issues that you might have. But when it comes to the groups and the groups settings and creating groups, I think then what Susan already told you to do, the different places that you can find resources or help or contact her directly, then for the groups, I think that is the way to go. But yeah, I'm here if you need anything. Do you have a question? Yes, please. Sorry, I don't think I can view all of you at once. I just need to change my settings. But just go ahead if you have any questions.
Actually, I don't have a question. I just want to say what we are doing here in Sweden. Actually, we have script. We print out the affiche, and we do something in the Catholic Education Board. All the bestelling, every book we sell it out, and we should send it out with the books. We send the affiche with it. And we try to send the affiche to all the church in Catholic Church in Sweden, in all of Sweden. And now we are trying to do a visiting we start in Stockholm, to the church in Stockholm, which they have store groups. And we just have this visit to talk about Sycamore and just show it to the priest or to the diacon on the church, and just talking about it and encourage them to just to have a look on Sycamore, and just try to do this presentation with the ungdom. I'm sorry, I'm just blending Swedish with English. So we just try to do that on this way, and like you said, we share it on our website and the Facebook, and we just try to tell everyone about it. Every day we send a book and we sell a book. We give a brochure of Sycamore with it.
So thank you from Sweden.
Thank you.
It was from Sweden that we heard about Sycamore for the first time, so we should thank them for this information. And now Father Stephen and Susan has been informed a bit about how we now today we officially start to launch Sycamore in Norway, and we will try in many ways over the last weeks before the summer, and hope that when fall starts and all the programs in the parishes start, many or most people or everyone will be informed about Sycamore and be told how to use it. So Katrine can be contacted here in Norway, or myself at the Catechesis Center. And maybe I should give the word back to England to Father Stephen and to Susan. We have 10 minutes left of the meeting. Father Stephen, you have heard some input from us. What is your reaction?
Well, I've probably said enough, really. It's lovely to hear about how you've been developing, really. You know, it's like a seed, isn't it? And you can't predict how the seed will grow, and just beautiful to see it growing. And I'm very, very moved by what Maria said in her response and her testimony, and very touched that a project that's just been a very small thing here in London is bearing fruit in Norway is lovely for us to hear. And thanks for all the work that you've done with the translating, and Katarina and Father Oddvar and so many others. So it's a very exciting time for us. And as we've said, you know, to see this in Sweden, it's probably been over a year that we started to work with Sweden and Holland, and the growth in Norway is beautiful. But just Father Oddvar, would anyone have any questions in the last few minutes for us? Or...
Yeah, please, if you have a question, turn on your microphone and speak. You can ask in Norwegian too, and we can translate. Maybe I would challenge, there's another Stephen here, whose English or Scottish is excellent, who is the leader of the general secretary of the youth movement in the Catholic Church in Norway. Stephen, will you say something?
I suppose I can. First of all, thank you very much to Father Stephen and to Susan for your presentations. It's been really interesting. Whenever Father Odva told me about this and I first sort of had a look at one of the videos, I can sort of sign on to everything Maria said. It's impressive, nothing short of that. It's very interesting for me to see in relation to the work we do nationally for the youth in Norway. So Father Stephen and Susan, as Father Odva said, I'm the Secretary General of the youth organization in the country. So I get to travel around to meet a lot of parishes and meet a lot of the youth. And at least for a lot of our youth groups, I think this is a very good resource for them to be able to have as an occasional activity, because when they want to fill their evenings with something to do, and you know, this is another thing they can add to the list, where they get to have discussion groups, where they get to sort of drive the program forward themselves. I think it's really good stuff. Really impressed. I look forward to using a lot of it as a catechist for my confirmation groups. So I look forward to using it myself, and thank you very much for the work you've done.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks very much. Just sorry, Stephen, I'm going mad with the sign behind you. What does that mean?
That's Norges unge katolikker, so translated as Norway's young Catholics.
Oh, very good. I see.
So it's just some cheap promotional material. You know, I'm just promoting that.
That's fine. I need a banner that big behind me saying something, don't I? I'm just not sure what I'd put on it yet. That's great.
So then, my impression, I mentioned slightly how it was. I saw right away that this was a better series of films that I have ever seen before, I think, on the Catholic faith. And I think for confirmant 15-year-olds and up, and Stephen Trotter here, and his young people up between 15 and 25 and some up to 30. Excellent. And you made it, Father Stephen, for the students. So, you know, I think you probably somehow focused on the age group around 20. And if you're older, unless you are a fossil of some kind, you can also, you know, understand it. I'm 65, and for me, it works just fine. So I think it's a very good material for lots of groups. And Father Stephen, the way you present the message, many people have commented on that. It's so unthreatening. You don't scare people. You don't intimidate them. You just come across as a nice person, a good human being, and it makes it it's quite important. And somehow you carry the whole series by your own personality. So I'm sure you have had lots of help making the films, because to make films like that, it takes so much resources and so much money. How was it possible to make the series so advanced and so good, Father Stephen?
Well, this was what I was saying right at the beginning. If we had the inspiration to try and remake the films, but of course we knew that we needed a serious amount of funding, and we prayed, and really the answer came through the funding. We applied for 3 grants, and we were given about £100,000 in 2 months of fundraising. And so that just felt for us very much like a sign from God, to be honest with you. You know, his affirmation that we said to him, in effect, if you want this to happen, you'll have to provide the money. And he's been very kind in, especially at every stage, but in terms of the encouragement we needed, it was 3 grants that gave us the money to start the filming. And that was a definite sign of affirmation to try and move forward. And then we've put in for some new grants, and we've had a model of subscriptions, paid subscriptions originally, but now we've shifted over to having free resources. And so we need to do some quite serious fundraising, but people so far have been very generous. So we just want to try and trust in God. Maria, do you want to say something? Sorry.
Yes, I would ask, what is your experience with youth formation, using Sycamore for youth groups?
Yeah, it's been positive. You've got to get the right group and the right age, and I think what Stephen said is right about flexibility. You know, you don't want a youth group to do a 20-week confirmation course because it's too much. But for example, I'd say one common thing is for a confirmation group, either running a very short Sycamore course. So we've got what is it, a 6 or 7 week course? We've even got a 6-week course, because in reality, lots of parishes are doing very short courses. You know, it's not enough, but it's the reality. Or they're doing their own course, but they're showing 2 or 3 Sycamore films just to give it variety. So that's been very positive. And another thing, this might be different in Norway, but in Catholic schools in England, in the 6th form, ages 17 and 18, you have compulsory religious education. And everyone in the school hates it because they have to do it. The bishops force them to do it, but they don't know what to do, and most people don't go to church. But it's an obligation in the Catholic school. So lots of schools are using Sycamore because it makes this more interesting. So you have some religious input, but it's not too long, and you can have some good discussions. And the other thing, and this is something quite special in schools, is that you can use Sycamore as an opportunity to train leaders in peer ministry. So you might have one teacher running Sycamore for 100 people in the 6th form, but they would train 15 people to be the leaders. And then you would give them a certificate or an award at the end to say they have become Sycamore leaders that they can use on their CV or to get into university. And you'd have people in the upper 6th, age 18, leading groups for the lower 6th, age 17. So it creates then a leadership program, and it gives young people responsibility, which is what they want. You know, they don't want to just be taught. They want to become leaders themselves. So this is very new, and there's lots of opportunities. And I'd say there's only maybe 10 or 15 schools that we know about in England that are doing this. But I think there's a lot of potential for that kind of work in Catholic schools and Catholic youth groups. And I do the same thing, Stephen, with the leadership peer ministry. I'm sure you have this model already. You know, you have people who are in their early 20s leading groups for the teenagers, but that's the same for Sycamore as well.
So
I have to interject a wee bit. It's the motto for the Youth Association is actually faith, action, and community. I think that sort of fits very nicely with everything that you've been saying right now as well. And it is all about empowering the young people to lead it themselves. So the peer ministry thing is entirely what we actually try to build up.
Father Andreas, you have something on your mind.
Yeah. Right. Regarding to schools, we only have one school in that age group. So, but I think for us in the youth organization, it could be an important tool, especially for those who live remote, who don't come to the meetings not so often. So that could be a good possibility to develop it there. So. Yeah. Sure, Stephen, we were going to talk about that. We can talk about that.
And the only thing that I'd throw in that we haven't talked very much about, because Father Oddvar asked Susan and I to focus on the parish and catechesis, you know, because that's a big thing for you. But just I'd say right at the end, and really we'd want to have another session about this, that Sycamore started as an evangelization program. And then it became a catechetical. But don't forget the evangelization element of Sycamore in your communities, because, you know, we want to find ways of reaching out to non-Christian friends, to Muslim and Hindu and Buddhist friends, to atheist friends, and in ecumenism to reach out, especially to the many lapsed Lutherans in Norway, and to use Sycamore within your communities as a way of bringing new people to an event, to a meeting, a meal, and helping your parishioners to become evangelizers who invite their friends to something that they've become excited about. So that would be one model, and maybe you could, here's something to do before the autumn, before September. We've just got a new Pentecost program. You know, if you're not sure what to do, why don't you run a Pentecost program for your parishioners, just for fun, as an experiment, but then run an evangelization program in September, and all of the parishioners who came to the Pentecost program, they can invite 10 friends from their local street to come to the evangelization program. So you're doing it in stages, and you're inviting the parish to become more committed to outreach as well as to all the catechesis and the youth work.
I must just say that I'm very happy that you brought that up, Father Stephen, because we in the communication department of the diocese, we are going to help you with that. So actually tomorrow we're going to have a meeting on how we can create more awareness about Sycamore with with people that are not within the church. So we will definitely help you with that, creating more awareness. So I hope that all the parishes also would like to or dare to embark on that as well, also with our help. So yeah, that is great. And I will also just in closing share with you in the chat, I'm very sorry, while you were speaking, Father Stephen, I shared the links to the Norwegian webpage. So you all please click on the links and save them for later, or if you want to have a read in Norwegian for later, then you can do so. Maybe Father Oddvar, can you send an email with the links and the resources to everyone after the meeting maybe?
I don't have the emails of everyone, so I have to most of them, I guess. But but the two main web pages is the katolsk.no, and if you hit that one, you find the rest. And the second main web page is the Sycamore web page. And if you want to contact Susan or Father Stephen, you can go to the English main page, and then if you want to contact someone in Norway, you go to the main Catholic page in Norway. And I will thank you all for being here. And now we want to continue the work with making the programs known and starting to use them in many different and good and blessed ways. So should we say thank you now and goodbye? Anyone need to say a last word or want to say a last word? Okay then. Goodbye and God bless.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
really
you.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you. Really lovely to be here.
Take care.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you very much.